Joe Biden's campaign is outraged tonight. Earlier this week, this show and others reported that during his last days as vice president, Biden requested the unmasking of Michael Flynn's name. Now, there was no obvious legitimate reason for Biden doing that. Biden wasn't leading any kind of investigation or interpreting intelligence. In fact, he was leaving in 8 days. It was clearly a political move, and that's wrong, if not illegal. If there's another explanation for what Biden did, we would like to hear it. But Biden is not interested in telling us anything about this. Instead, his flack denounced any story on the subject as, quote, dishonest media manipulation. In other words, exactly the kind of thing that should be banned by social media and likely will be if Joe Biden is ever elected president. What's amazing, what tells you everything, is that so many in the media agree with Joe Biden's flack and with the Biden campaign. There's nothing to see here. Unmasking is routine. It's important. It's no big deal. Well, you might ask, then, if it's no big deal, then why are the names of Americans caught up in foreign surveillance hidden from public view by law? Be quiet, they tell us, no more questions. What's interesting, this probably won't surprise you, is that these very same people, very much including Joe Biden, once had the opposite view of unmasking. 15 years ago, they were fighting to oppose John Bolton's nomination as United Nations ambassador. There are good reasons to oppose that, by the way. Bolton is a wild-eyed neocon who worships violence. His opponents never said that, though. They're neocon warmongers themselves. So instead, they attacked Bolton, and we're not joking, for unmasking. As Secretary of State for Arms Control and International Security, John Bolton made a total of 10 unmasking requests over a 4-year period. 10 requests in 4 years. To give this some context, UN Ambassador Susan Rice made 7 unmasking requests in less than 2 months just for Michael Flynn's name. God knows how many others she unmasked. We still don't know the answer to that. Back in 2005, the New York Times called any unmasking at all, quote, unusual, and argued that John Bolton should be disqualified because he had done it. Meanwhile, the same man who would unmask Michael Flynn's name for political reasons had this to say about John Bolton's crimes. Watch.
I'm even more concerned about the failure of the committee to receive information relating to Mr. Bolton's request for NSA information and to identify U.S. persons that he wanted to know in those intercepts.
It's just wrong what he did. Unmasking an American citizen in a foreign surveillance transcript is just wrong. But Biden had a solution, a way to make it all better, more transparency.
It has been alleged, as I said, that Mr. Bolton has been spying on rivals within the bureaucracy, both inferior and superior to him. While I doubt this, as I've said publicly before, we have a duty to be sure that he did not misuse this data.
Oh, he was spying on people by unmasking their names. Notice, by the way, as you watch tape of Joe Biden just from 15 years ago, completely different man, unfortunately. Let us be on the record saying that we agree with the 2005 version of Joe Biden on this question. Let's see the documents. Now, release all the unmasking requests the Obama administration made against Mike Flynn and others. Do it tomorrow and show us what they said. What was the pretext under which they requested to see the names? If it was as routine as we're being told, then there's nothing to hide, obviously. Francie Hakes is a former federal prosecutor. She joins us tonight. So, Francie, you're hearing again and again and again, unmasking is no big deal. And by the way, if you ask too many questions, some creep security. Do you think it's no big deal?
It's not no big deal. By the way, I welcome him shouting at me. I'd love to be on and tell him the truth of the matter, which is something that he should know himself as a former intel official. And that is how unusual, maybe even unprecedented it is for the vice president of an outgoing administration 8 days before the inauguration of the incoming administration of the opposite party to request unmasking the incoming national security advisor when he's not a normal intel official. He's not the one who's doing the wiretaps. He's not the one who's reviewing the transcripts. He's not writing the summaries. He's not giving the briefings. He's receiving the briefings. If those that are briefing him think that it's important that he, as the ultimate consumer, the vice president, somehow know the context of the conversation, that is, who's talking to this foreign official who was intercepted, then that intelligence official can ask that it be unmasked and give that information to the vice president. This is incredibly dangerous.
I couldn't agree with you more. Now, I should say a second ago, I said that UN Ambassador Susan Rice, and of course I meant Samantha Power, because it's even more outrageous. Susan Rice, of course, the National Security Advisor, and at least had a plausible, maybe, reason to unmask. Why would a UN ambassador need to unmask the identity of an American citizen in an intel transcript?
Well, again, these intelligence agencies provide briefings to all of these ultimate consumers, including potentially the UN ambassador, who's, of course, conducting the nation's diplomacy. And so she could be expected to need to know what it is the Israelis are thinking, or what are the Russians talking about as they go in to negotiate some UN resolution or other. But that doesn't mean she needs to unmask it. She asks her briefers for context, and they provide it. This is all incredibly unusual, and it is nothing standard. And I agree with the 2005 Joe Biden myself.
I liked him better, more coherent for one thing, but more reasonable too. Francie Higgs, thanks so much for that context. We appreciate it.